Hello and good evening, everyone. Can I have the slides, please? Okay. It's indeed a pleasure and an honor to be with you all this evening and speak about something that I love so much, language, why we use it and how we use it. Thank you, Silray and its entire team for this lovely opportunity. Before I begin, though, I must admit that it was quite a challenge to sift through an ocean of knowledge and choose just those few droplets that might be of interest to all of you here. I hope I'm clear. I'm loud and clear.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Next slide, please. So language has a very important social purpose. Ever since mankind, or womankind for that matter, began to communicate, we have had this need. We're all social animals, and no experience can be felt or enjoyed in isolation. We feel a compelling need to share, and that's how we know of how communication could have started off maybe as sign language or mimicking the sounds in nature. We still have examples of these, in the present day English, and we call them onomatopoeic words, such as the hiss of a snake, the clang of metal, the cooing of a baby, and so on. We've also heard of and seen cave paintings, which is again early man's desire to communicate his experiences. And we have, the hieroglyphics in Egypt, which we know is a pictorial language, which is a combination of a script as well as images. Now, as the NEP has suggested, it is very important to expose our children to a variety of languages in their early years, simply because it shapes and strengthens their cognitive and analytical abilities.
I'm glad I heard so much.
Hello.
Okay, we have a number. You can call.
Okay. So, when they shift between languages, children are looking at the grammar, word order, sentence structure, and the words themselves. Maybe they will not know how, they may not know it as a literary person or a language expert, but automatically they are making these shifts, and it really helps them to, builds on their analytical skills. So that's very important for children, very young children, to have an exposure to several languages as much as they can come across. Next slide, please. Okay, when we talk of acquiring a language skill, what we are essentially looking at is the acquisition and assimilation of, oh my, I don't think this is the slide. Can you, no, this is, no. I don't think this is the presentation I sent across. Are you sure this is the one?
This is the latest one we have, Bona.
Oh, really? Because I had another one, those slides. Oh. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, okay, I'll just continue talking. Okay. Maybe without the slides.
Done.
Okay. So when you talk of, language skills, we are looking at basically two sets of skills, which is active skills and passive skills. We call speaking and writing as active skills, which requires inputs from us. And we call reading and listening as the passive skills, because something is just happening to us. We are taking information. We're not producing the sentences or the words. So when you learn a language, what you're actually doing is you're adding to your vocabulary, and any progress in your learning can be measured by how many words are there in as part of your everyday vocabulary. They say that, experts say that for the native speaker, he or she has about 40,000 words in their passive vocabulary and 20,000 words in your active vocabulary in there. So the more you shift from that to this, the more enriched and wonderful your language becomes and your communication becomes. So the whole exercise is to do this, to build on this. And and whatever people might say about the reasons for learning language, They may come across 10, give you 10 different reasons. If you check Google, it'll come up with 10 different reasons. I see only 2 reasons. One is economic and one is integrative. See, economic reasons are, I think, a very powerful reason. It is the reason why, it's a driving force between all our learning and all our study. We all dream of moving up the social ladder, the economic ladder. And that, I think, is the biggest driving force in all of our actions. But once in a way, once when you settle into a new city, or once you go into a new country and you kind of get used to that life and you start looking at the people around you and you want to integrate with those people, that's when you will want to learn the local language, learn it well, and then kind of integrate yourself into that society. So there are just 2 main reasons why we start pursuing languages. Although there are 4 skills like listening, reading that I talked about, speaking and writing, today I will focus this talk on just one area, which we call as speaking skills, because I think that's the most important. It's the most interesting part of English as well. It is different from our Indian languages, and that's why I wish to focus on this. So firstly, if you all know, even a child will tell you that there are 26 alphabets in English, but there are actually 44 sounds, which is broken up into, say, 20 vowel sounds and 24 consonant sounds. So this is the reason why there is so much of difference between the written word and the spoken word. In most Indian languages, there is a connection, one-to-one connection between the written letter and the sound that it leads to, except for a few small variations. Like, let us look at my language, Tamil, for example. The word ka, word initially will always be ka, but when it comes word medially, it will become ga. It will change to ga. But these are small variations like that. But English is much, much more different. Look at this, sound represented by the letters C and H. When it is in chin, it is ch. When it comes in the word machine, it is sh. And in the word character, it becomes ka. So the same sound. So that's why it becomes, complex. It becomes really complex, and young children kind of struggle with learning the spellings of this language. Now, there's another additional complication. Yeah, this is what I was looking at. So thank you for this. Yeah. So if you look at the slide, there is if you look at it, the first one is stress. I want to talk to you a little bit about stress. In English, there is word stress and sentence stress. Let's look at the word stress first. Usually words, in a word, there is only one syllable that gets stressed. Now, there are monosyllabic words like O and A and all, there's no problem. But look at a word like, say, examination. In examination, it is one part of that word. Examination is maybe a 5-syllabic word, but the nay part of it is stressed. So this is very unique to English. And the whole point is that if you want to be understood internationally for the sake of international intelligibility, you need to understand this sound structure and stay with the accent and understand which part of the word the stress falls on and stay with that. But the same things, but if this word stress might slightly change in connected speech. Connected speech also has certain stresses. The stresses like, in connected speech, we will stress on maybe mostly the important main verb, the noun, the adjective, and the adverb. We don't stress on conjunctions. We don't stress on articles. We don't stress on these unimportant grammatical words that exist in the sentence to build the sentence. Because the idea is for the other person to just understand what you're saying. So you can say, I had bread and butter for breakfast. You say butter, bread, and breakfast is stressed. The rest I had, for, and all these things are not stressed. So this actually leads to the rhythm of English. That's why there is a kind of a musicality to the language, so which you will enjoy as you hear more. And it comes across in poetry as well. When we read poetry in a certain way, there's a rhythm with which you read it. So this is one aspect that I want to talk to you about, the stress and the rhythm of English. And also, very interestingly, just that if this is not enough, there's some more complication that I want to introduce. One other complication is there are certain words which work as nouns and adjectives and also as verbs. So the same word, the same spelling, but the pronunciation is different. So you say he's a convict. The person is a convict as a noun, but he was convicted of the crime. This is an object, but I objected to the problem. I objected to his whatever invasion or something like that. Or this is the produce of this gram, this village, or we produced a lot this year, things like that. So the same word, but depending on how it's used, it changes, the pronunciation changes. And there's one more thing that I wish to talk about, and that the last one I will be talking about is tone. See, in written language, you can put a full stop and your audience will know it's a statement. You put a question mark, they'll know it's a question. You put an exclamation, they'll know it's you're either upset or you're excited, right? But how do you do that in speech? How do you speak differently so that your audience is, and the most important thing is people's attention spans are pretty low. And unless you do this tonality, changes in tone, people are going to sleep off and doze off. So you keep varying your tone from, soften, you slow down, you suddenly raise your voice, you do all these things. So the question mark is conveyed through a rising tone. The statements are conveyed through a falling tone. If you want to say a joke, why do people laugh? It's from your tone, you see? And why do, you want to be sarcastic. You don't want to say that someone is nice, but not so nice. You'll say, she's wonderful. And then you stop there. People will know, you wish to say something without actually saying anything. So you can convey all of this to your tone. So that is why I've spent a lot of time on the spoken aspects of English. So I think we'll maybe out of time. And so I've not stressed upon other issues like grammar. I know children hate grammar, but there are very, very interesting ways to learn and understand grammar. Once you understand it, it's like, it's beautiful if you actually have a good teacher teaching it to you, and vocabulary and punctuation. So because of lack of time. So that in a very brief nutshell are some of the aspects of English language teaching. It is a delightful language to learn and will take several years to master. Good luck to you all. Thank you. I'll take questions after Mrs. Savita speaks to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bhuvaneshwari, and for the interesting pointers and aspects on English language learning. I mean, indeed, very interesting. And like you rightly said, yes, it takes years to master a language very well. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with all of you this evening and talk about the importance of learning new languages, international and foreign languages. Most people in the world speak more than one language. So this emphasizes the fact and shows that we are all naturally tuned towards bilingualism or multilingualism, where I think we can easily speak more than one language. Next slide, please. So they say, next slide, can we go to the next slide? So they say the limits of my language means the limits of my world. And a man who speaks two languages is actually worth two. A French proverb says this. One language sets you in a corridor for life, but two languages open every door along the way. A different language is like a different vision of life. Next one. So why learn a foreign language? Especially for students, there are a lot of job placements that are available. Most of the companies today have some business or the other to do with the rest of the world. So they prefer to hire people who speak more than one language. It gives you an edge in the interviews. When students put it up on their resume, it immediately sort of gives them an edge over the other candidates. Not only during the placements, but even during the career, during the work phase, there are a lot of growth opportunities within the organization when it comes to important positions and the overseas work and things like that. A lot of our students we have seen in the past many years sometimes easily command about 20 to 40%. And in some incidences where we have noticed it's almost double the salary than their peers who do not speak foreign languages. There are a lot of opportunities opening up, career opportunities in the field of languages. It could be trainers, translators, interpreters, content writers, language specialists are in great demand, especially in today's world where the entire world is one global village. There are a lot of opportunities abroad. It's not just during the travel or study, even for work, immigration, a lot of opportunities as well. And just by saying hola, bonjour, you are no longer a stranger. I mean, it opens up doors to you. Next one, please. Yeah. So apart from the economic career opportunities, there are a lot of other benefits. Research proves that the IQ of a person goes up when you start speaking. When you start learning new languages. When you learn a new language, new neural pathways are formed in the brain and it activates new cells. And it's like an exercise for the brain. It keeps you fit. So it boosts the brain power, improves the memory skills. And research also showed then when you start learning a language and when you become aware of the nuances of how a language works, you also become improve your first language or your English language skills or your other language skills also goes up. And your performance in other academic areas also improves. So this is one big reason why I think children are also naturally tuned to picking up languages easily just by listening and speaking and being in that environment. They easily pick it up. So I think children should be exposed to more languages, and it has a lot of benefits professionally, socially, psychologically, cognitive benefits. So it's very good for the mind, for the brain development, for the IQ, EQ of the child. And it really helps, for them to pick up languages as early in their life as possible. Next one, please. Apart from the academic and the social benefits, there are a lot of job opportunities like we looked in the first slide. So where are these opportunities? There are opportunities in the field of not just training, our language specialists, translations, transcriptions, interpretations. Content writing is a big thing now in the SEO, branding, blogging, or as a YouTuber, podcaster, speaker. A lot of opportunities in the field of sales and marketing internationally, a research analyst, HR and recruitments, publishing industry, where most of the papers and books are published in multiple languages. Likewise, in entertainment industry, animation, most of the subtitling and most of the movies are all like now made in different languages. Tourism and aviation sector, most of the international organizations, UN, WHO, UNESCO, embassies have openings for people who speak foreign languages. Journalism and PR, or even in diplomatic services, government agencies, intelligence services are some of the areas where language specialists are in great demand. Next slide, please. So there are about more than 7,000 languages spoken globally. So which languages do we choose if a child wants to learn, or if anyone of us wants to learn a language? So which language do we pick it up? So the most widely spoken languages in terms of number of speakers is the top is the Mandarin or Chinese language, followed by English, Spanish, Hindi, Arabic, Bengali, Russian, Portuguese, Japanese, German, and French. This is mostly on the number of speakers speaking that language. Now, coming to the popular languages in terms of opportunities globally, the top languages are German, French, Spanish, Japanese, Mandarin, Korean, Italian, Dutch, Swedish, Russian. There are a lot of job opportunities available for people who speak German, French, and Spanish languages. So these are some of the top popular languages across for different people in India, for students looking for jobs or going abroad for higher education or looking at learning a new language. So I think these are the top languages that they can look at learning. Next one. Next slide, please. Yeah. So now coming to learning a language. So how do we, there are certain principles which are, I think, common across any language learning, whether it's English language or Indian language or one of the international languages. So how did we all learn our mother tongue? I think it was mostly by listening and speaking. Reading and writing came later. The grammar part of it, like most of us are not even aware of how a grammatical rules work. Like I speak Kannada and Telugu fluently, but I do not know any grammar in it at all. So one of the top ideas is it's like if it's an immersion method, or using the target language only, whether you're learning French or German or Spanish, instead of using the translation method, if you can start speaking in the language right from day one. That's one of the best ways to learn a language, because what happens is when it comes to translation, the sentence structure is not always the same, and that's where a lot of language errors, mistakes come into the picture. So it's always first is listening. We listened to how people spoke around us, and then we started speaking, and then came the reading, writing, and later the grammar part of it once we started going to school. So the same thing applies to learning any language at any stage. And also, rather than explanations, it's through examples that when we teach languages or when we are exposed to learning a language, it sort of registers and it's easier to learn. For example, if I say it's like, am I speaking? Will I continue to speak for some more time? So can we say speaking? Have I finished speaking? So can we say I spoke or spoken? So like this through examples, instead of saying present continuous tense and things like that, I think it's easier for people to learn through examples. And also learn through speaking. So that's why it's like in most of the language learning classes or wherever children are exposed to, are given opportunities where they can speak more. ISTT, or student talking time, and a lower teacher talking time, I think gives them a lot of opportunities for them to make mistakes, experiment, and then start speaking. I think one of the best and easiest ways to learn a language is only through speaking. Start speaking, make mistakes, correct, experiment, have variety in it, and continue refining and learning and improving. And one of the other most important aspect for teachers, educators, or for anyone students who are learning is ask questions rather than make statements. It's like when you ask a question, you need a response from the other person. So instead of saying, it could be anything. I mean, instead of saying this is a pen, it's used for writing, convert every statement into a question saying, can we call it a pen? Can we use it for writing? Nod your head. There is a response that comes from the student. So it's very highly interactive. So this asking questions makes it much more easier, fun, interactive, and to learn a language. So for the educators, for the people who are teaching languages, I think if you can convert all statements into questions, that's a very, very powerful technique. So these are some of the ways where how we can learn a new language. And with this, I think, yeah, next slide, please. So foreign languages or international languages are the gateway to opportunities. There are a lot more opportunities opening up, a lot more students learning, taking up languages. And with the new national education policy, with the 3-language policy, the third language is sort of optional. I mean, the first language, they say, is any one of the regional languages, then the English language, and the third one is any one of the optional languages. So you can now select any of the foreign language or an Indian language, whichever language it is, whether it's an Indian or an international languages. I think learning languages is fun. Learning languages opens up doors. Learning languages has a lot of benefits, especially in today's world when we all keep hearing about the mental health and the well-being of a person. Both our mind and body are connected. So like the way we take care of our body, keeping it fit, healthy, it's like the mind also needs to be kept fit and healthy. So learning languages is one of the ways to keep our mind fit. Research has shown that we can push away the Alzheimer's, dementia, many other mental related, age-related problems when you keep our brain cells active. So go ahead, learn a language. Any language is fine, either Indian or an international languages. All the very best. And thanks, and open to questions.
Thank you, Dr. Bhuvaneshwari and Ms. Savita, for your valuable ideas and thoughts. Absolutely, languages are indeed fun. So now let's open the floor for questions. Okay, so there's a question. Okay, so what role can language play in helping learners imagine the future?
Sorry, the role of languages in imagining?
Okay, so how does language help in making the learners imagine the future?
I didn't quite get this thing, but then language.
It was from Sherlyn Shiba. So Sherlyn, can you elaborate your question, please? Okay, so okay, so I think maybe we could, since Sherlyn is not responding, so
Sure, we can move on to the next
Next
question.
one, yes. So with learning happening digitally, children are getting limited opportunities to write on pen and paper. So is that important, do you think, ma'am? So yes, Dr. Bhuvaneshwari, ma'am, I think you're on mute. Okay.
Ma'am, you should
Yeah, unmute me. Yeah. I couldn't unmute all this while. So what was the question again?
So with learning happening digitally, children are getting limited opportunities to write on pen and paper. So do you think this is important? Why or why not?
Okay, that's a very nice question. The point is that, when calculators entered the scene, when I was young, and then people said, oh my God, you should do mental math. But then now calculators are being taken into the exam hall itself. So I'm saying, as in the modern times, we are really running out of time. And whatever can save time is a great way to, live life. So all these time-saving devices, using a computer, using a dictaphone, using the dictation mode to write, all that is not going to hinder. It's only going to help. So I would not look upon any of these modern inventions as a hindrance. But the onus is on the person to want to learn, to improve themselves, read up. Those things are not going to change.
Okay.
So,
yeah, thank you, ma'am. And one more question, because it is really very relevant, that children find languages less interesting than math and science. So how do we get them excited about languages?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. Shall I answer, or Savita, you want to get into that?
You can answer and I'll add on to it.
Yeah, you'll add on. Okay. So yeah, that's a very good question. That's because I think even in schools, I think the teachers, the schools or colleges themselves don't focus on this. I know in my college, when I was teaching, the students would stay away out of the English classes. But the thing is, in a way, good. Like those who aspire for higher education, there are luckily these entrance exams like IELTS or all these, these things to TOEFL and GRE. All of them focus on English. So the kids cannot, suddenly wake up when they finished engineering and then they want to crack the exams. They can't. It is a sustained attack right from school days, where they keep on adding to their vocabulary, because the preparations, the questions, the kind of questions that are asked in GRE and GMAT are pretty tough. So if they aim for a higher education, and they have to focus and learn, that is the only the impetus or the reason that parents and teachers must stress the importance of learning languages, because they're not going to do it overnight. They can't mug up, overnight. It's just not possible.
Right. Right. Yeah. Maybe some of the other ways is like now people have access to a lot of digital entertainment. So a lot of movies, a lot of animation available in different languages. That's one way that we can encourage children to pick it up or make friends. I mean, now that everyone is connected digitally, virtually, if they can have friends or exposed to, like, for example, this conference itself is an international conference where there are speakers from different parts of the world. So if they can be connected, and even the school student exchange program exposes them to different languages, different friends, different cultures, travel, and different ways where we can encourage children to pick up languages, stay in touch, and make friends and read books. A lot of material, a lot of information available everywhere. I think parents, educators should encourage them and give them opportunities and give them exposure to all these available resources.
Yes.
Very interesting, ma'am. Now, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Bhuvaneshwari. And